You stand at the edge of the battlefield, your ears filled with the deafening sounds of gunfire, explosions, and the frantic shouts of comrades. Your heart beats in sync with the drum-like rhythm of war, each pulse seeming to echo the violence of the land you now inhabit. You grip your rifle tightly, your fingers trembling against the barrel, sweat dripping from your forehead and running down your face, tracing slow paths along your skin. The air around you is thick and suffocating, laden with the sharp stench of gunpowder that makes it hard to breathe. You take a deep breath, trying to steady yourself, but the ruins of the battlefield and the fear stirring within you create a strong resonance. You remember the day the draft letter came, the day you had no choice but to answer. From the rural fields to the barracks, and now to this foreign, desolate battlefield, you once thought you were fighting for a noble cause. But now, standing here, you realize that what was once called idealism, nation, and justice has vanished. Now, all that remains is the primal instinct for survival and the fear of what lies ahead. With each explosion, your body instinctively takes a step back. Your heart pounds harder as though it's trying to escape from your chest. You feel the tremors within, not from fear of battle, but from the stark realization of your mortality. You thought life on the farm was the greatest challenge, but here you understand how insignificant those worries truly were. The fire, the death that awaits, is something you've never truly comprehended. Suddenly, a comrade falls beside you, blood spraying out in all directions, painting the earth red. Your body reacts instinctively, and your rifle fires, hitting an enemy soldier. There is no time to celebrate the victory, or to even catch your breath. You quickly crouch, dodging more gunfire, and the booming sound of enemy artillery. Your body is almost torn apart by each explosion, your legs trembling uncontrollably. Then, once again, the enemy charges. Flames and smoke fill the air, and your comrades charge forward, weapons raised. You glance back at the commanding officer, whose gaze is unwavering, as if he's grown accustomed to this environment. But then, you realize, this is a battle that has already moved beyond your control. Each breath, each movement, each decision could mean the difference between life and death. At this moment you begin to doubt. The person who once set foot on this land for the sake of ideals, does he still exist? All the beliefs, all the heroism, seem to have been shattered. You're just an ordinary soldier, standing on this blood-soaked battlefield, facing the grim test of survival. In this moment, you no longer know who you're fighting for. All that matters is surviving long enough to see your home, with its green fields, once more. You lower your gaze, staring at your rifle. It no longer symbolizes glory. It has become your only tool for survival in this endless battle. You grip it tightly, making the decision to move forward, not to stop. No matter what death or fear lies ahead, you must continue. For on this battlefield, no one stops until the final moment. The battle rages on, the chaos around you a relentless symphony of violence. The air is thick with smoke, and the ground beneath your feet feels unstable, as if it could give way at any moment. You push forward, but it feels like every step is weighed down by the fear gnawing at your insides. The world is nothing but noise, shouts, gunfire, the rhythmic pounding of cannons in the distance. But through it all there is a strange silence in your mind, a numbness that comes with repetition. You've lost track of how many times you've fought, how many lives you've seen end in an instant. There's no longer any distinction between one battle and the next, no clear sense of victory or defeat, just the constant grind of survival. Your eyes dart across the battlefield, seeking any sign of movement, any indication of where the next threat will come from. The landscape around you is a war zone, a mix of shattered trees, crumbled earth, and the occasional grim reminder of the price of war. A fallen soldier, a forgotten weapon, an abandoned piece of clothing left behind in haste. You barely register the sight of these things anymore. They've become a part of the background, another facet of the life you now know so well. The soldiers who once fought beside you, each with their own story, their own dreams of a future, are now just faces in the crowd, all reduced to the same struggle for survival. You turn your attention back to the front, focusing on the advancing enemy lines. They come forward in waves, but they seem like shadows, mere shapes among the smoke and dust. Your hands are steady now, your breath controlled. The fear that once overwhelmed you has been replaced by a strange kind of calm. You don't know when it happened, but somewhere along the way, you stopped fighting out of a sense of duty and started fighting because it was the only thing left to do. The idea of home, of peace, of any future beyond this battlefield, it feels distant now, like a dream fading in the haze of the present. As you push forward with your comrades, you feel a brief flicker of connection with them. There's no need for words. There are no rallying cries or speeches to stir your hearts. Instead, there's a silent understanding between you all. An unspoken bond forged through the shared terror and camaraderie of this war. You all know the same thing. Survive and keep going, because that's all there is. The idea of hope, of a world beyond this moment, has become a distant thought that slips in and out of your consciousness like a fleeting memory. But then, amidst the chaos, something shifts. A moment of clarity comes, brief but profound, as you see a fellow soldier fall in front of you. His body hits the ground with a sickening thud, and for a split second, time seems to slow down. The world around you continues to whirl in its violent dance, but in that moment, you are frozen. His eyes are wide open, his face still contorted in the final expression of pain and fear. You stare at him, your mind struggling to process what has just happened. How many times have you seen this? How many times have you seen a life extinguished in an instant, just like his? In the blink of an eye, your gaze shifts to your comrades, each of them carrying their own burdens, their own fears. You realize, perhaps for the first time, that they are no different from you. Each one of them is just trying to hold on, just trying to get through this hell. You feel the weight of their lives as if it's your own, this shared collective burden that has become too heavy for any of you to bear alone. But there's a strange comfort in that shared weight. It makes the suffering bearable, knowing that you are not alone in it. You pull yourself back to the present, shaking off the lingering image of the fallen soldier. The battle is not over. You still have to fight, and as you fire your rifle again, your mind shuts out everything but the task at hand. You don't think about home anymore or what comes next. You don't even think about the men beside you. The world is narrowed to a single point: survival. It's all you can focus on, all you can do. The battle continues to surge around you, a relentless tide that will not stop, and you move forward with it, step by step, through the chaos and the carnage. The smoke thickens, the noise grows louder, and yet, within the heart of it all, you feel a strange sense of numbness. You're no longer fighting for a cause, you're just fighting for the next breath, the next heartbeat. This is your reality now, and in some strange way, it's the only thing you know. The battle stretches on, relentless and unyielding, but as the day wears thin, something inside you begins to shift. The roar of gunfire, the clash of metal, and the cries of the wounded, these sounds, once so sharp and unsettling, have faded into a dull, distant hum in the back of your mind. You've learned to adapt, to move through the chaos, as if your body knows what to do before your mind can catch up. There's a strange kind of autopilot that kicks in, guiding your hands to reload, to fire, to advance, without needing to process the violence happening around you. The once sharp edges of fear have dulled into something more manageable, something that doesn't consume you, but simply exists beside you as you move through this world of endless conflict. You don't even remember when you last felt anything resembling peace. Perhaps it was before the first battle, or maybe it was the last time you were with your family. What you do remember is the nagging pull of memory, the quiet evenings back home when the world seemed vast and full of possibility. Now, the only thing that feels vast is the battlefield, the endless stretch of ground littered with bodies, with remnants of what used to be human lives. Your mind briefly lingers on these memories, but they slip away, easily overtaken by the pressing need to act, to survive, to keep going. As the sun starts to dip beneath the horizon, casting an eerie golden glow across the field, you pause for a moment behind a makeshift barricade. The weight of your rifle in your hands feels heavier than it ever has, but it's the weight of your own exhaustion, the weight of the constant strain on your body that truly presses on your chest. You try to steady your breath, taking slow, measured inhales to ground yourself, to remind yourself that this is not forever. But the doubt lingers, that unsettling feeling in the pit of your stomach. that this might be the way life is now. An endless cycle of violence, of survival, of losing pieces of yourself until there's nothing left but a hollow shell. Your eyes catch the movement of your comrades. There are fewer of them now, their faces pale and drawn, their bodies tired but resolute. You exchange silent glances with a few of them. There are no words anymore, just the shared understanding that you're all walking the same uncertain path. But even in the absence of words, there is a sense of camaraderie, a bond formed through shared suffering. You've grown to rely on each other in ways that transcend the usual definitions of friendship. You don't have to speak to understand the fear in each other's eyes, the fatigue in your shared movements, the silent prayers for the end of this madness. The day transitions into evening, and the once bright sky darkens into a muted canvas of purples and blues. You look out across the battlefield again, your gaze sweeping over the remnants of what was once a chaotic and fierce engagement. Now it's a sea of motionless bodies, discarded weapons, and the scent of gunpowder that still lingers in the air. It's quieter now, the silence following the storm of battle like a heavy fog. It's not peaceful though. It's the kind of quiet that fills the space between breaths, between heartbeats, the kind of quiet that reminds you of just how fragile life is. Your legs ache, your body feels as though it's been ground down to the bone, but still, you stand, gripping your rifle with a renewed sense of purpose. For a moment, it feels like you're not fighting for anything at all, but just fighting to stay in the fight, and that is enough for now. You don't know how long you'll last, but you can feel something stirring inside you, a quiet, stubborn resolve. You are here, and here is where you will remain, for as long as it takes. Not for the cause, not for the glory, but because that's what survival requires. There is no room for idealism or dreams of home anymore. There is only the battle, and in that, there is a strange sense of clarity. The stars begin to appear in the darkening sky, twinkling faintly above the battlefield. The sight of them is a comfort, a small reminder that even here, in the midst of all this death and destruction, the world continues on. There are things that exist beyond this, beyond the rifle in your hands, beyond the battle you're fighting, and in that fleeting moment you allow yourself to imagine, for just a second, what life might be like after the war, what peace might feel like, and whether or not you'll make it to see it. But the thought is fleeting, and as the first stars blink into the night, you snap back to reality. The battle is far from over, but tonight, the fight isn't just for survival. It's for the quiet persistence that has carried you through this madness, and it's that persistence that will continue to guide you through the darkness. The night deepens around you, the soft murmur of the wind rustling through the trees, the distant calls of night creatures mixing with the lingering echoes of battle. The camp is quiet now, save for the occasional shuffle of a weary soldier shifting in their blanket, or the low murmur of hushed conversations. The war may have paused for the night, but the unease in the air is palpable. Everyone knows that when the sun rises, the fighting will resume, just as it always has. But for now, there is a strange kind of peace, a temporary reprieve from the relentless violence. You sit on a damp patch of ground, your back resting against a tree, your rifle at your side. The cold earth beneath you feels steady, a reminder that you are still alive, that you are still here. You draw your knees up to your chest, wrapping your arms around them, and close your eyes for a moment. It's not sleep you crave, it's stillness. The kind of stillness that exists when the mind finally stops racing. When the heart slows and you're allowed just a moment of peace. The sound of footsteps draws you back to reality. A familiar face emerges from the shadows, the flickering light of the campfire casting long shadows across the figure's face. It's Davis, your friend from the regiment. His face is tired, his uniform torn, and his eyes hold the same weary, haunted look you've seen on so many others. Yet, when he looks at you, there's a flicker of something. Perhaps it's relief, or just a moment of shared understanding that passes between you. You've fought side by side for months now, and though there are no words for it, you know that your survival, your resolve, is partly owed to each other. "You still awake?" Davis asks quietly, his voice rough from the day's exertion. He doesn't sit beside you, but stands a few feet away, his hands resting on his hips as he surveys the campfire. The flames crackle and dance, throwing sparks into the air like fleeting stars. You nod, not trusting your voice. The weight of the day's events still lingers, and no words seem sufficient to describe the heaviness in your chest. Davis knows this. He always has. It's hard to believe this might end someday, Davis mutters, almost to himself. Feels like we've been fighting for years already, doesn't it? He laughs bitterly, the sound hollow. You understand, the days blur together, and the thought of life beyond this, of returning home, of seeing loved ones again, seems almost impossible. It feels like another lifetime, another world, one that has long since faded into the background of your existence. Yeah, you respond finally, your voice low. It does. There's a long pause, the fire crackling softly between you. The night air is cool now, but it's not unpleasant. The breeze carries the scent of pine and damp earth, a reminder of the natural world that exists beyond the battlefield. It almost feels like it could be a peaceful night, if only for the absence of war. You ever think about what happens after? Davis asks, his gaze shifting to the horizon, as though looking for answers in the night sky. You stare at the fire for a moment, the flickering light casting dancing shadows across the ground. It's hard to imagine what life might be like after the war. You used to think you knew. You used to think you would go home, settle back into the rhythms of life, pick up where you left off. But now, the thought feels distant, like a dream fading upon waking. Could you ever return to the life you once knew? Could you ever feel the same sense of peace you had before the war? I don't know, you admit, the truth tasting bitter on your tongue. It's hard to even imagine what comes next. Davis falls silent beside you, and the two of you sit there, each lost in your thoughts. The firelight flickers, casting shadows that seem to stretch on forever, and for a moment it feels like time has stopped. The war feels far away, distant, an echo of something that no longer holds sway over you. But deep inside, you know it's only temporary. Tomorrow the fight will continue. The cycle will begin again. You look over at Davis, his face illuminated by the fire. There's something comforting in the quiet companionship between you both, the shared burden of survival. You don't need words to know that he feels the same as you, that the two of you are connected in a way that goes beyond the battlefield. You are more than just soldiers now. You are survivors, and that bond, fragile as it may be, is the only thing that matters in this moment. The wind shifts again, and you close your eyes, feeling the cool air on your face, the steady rhythm of your heartbeat, the weight of the rifle resting against your side. The war will continue, yes, but for now, there is peace. Even if it's just for tonight, it's enough. Davis stands up, stretching his legs as he looks around the camp. I'm going to try to get some sleep. You should too. We'll need it for tomorrow. You nod, though you have no intention of sleeping. The quiet moments like this are rare, fleeting, and you want to hold on to them as long as possible. But you know that soon, you will be back on your feet, back in the chaos of battle, and the peace will fade once more. Until then, you'll savor the stillness, the brief moments of calm between the storms. You close your eyes again, letting the sound of the night wrap around you, a lullaby that carries you through the silence. And for a while you let yourself drift, the weight of the war momentarily forgotten, replaced by the simple comfort of knowing you're not alone. The night passes slowly, the hours stretching into an eternal silence that seems to swallow the camp whole. The stars above twinkle faintly, scattered across the deep black sky like distant sparks. You lay on your blanket, your body aching from the day's march, the tension in your muscles refusing to ease. The crackling of the fire is the only sound that breaks the quiet, but it too seems far off, a soft hum in the background of your exhausted mind. Despite the exhaustion, sleep remains elusive. Your thoughts continue to wander, drifting between the memories of home, of the soft rustle of the wind through the trees back on your family's farm, and the harsh reality of the battlefield you are now part of. Each thought pulls you in a different direction, but none of them offer the peace you desperately crave. The faintest rustle beside you brings you back to the present. You turn your head to see Davis lying beside you, his form outlined by the flickering light of the campfire. He's staring up at the stars, his face expressionless, lost in his own thoughts. For a long while, neither of you speaks, and there's nothing left to say about the war, nothing that could ease the weight on both of your shoulders. Finally, Davis's voice breaks the silence, low and tired, almost as if the words themselves carry the weight of his soul. Do you ever wonder if we'll make it out of this? If we'll ever go home? The question hangs in the air between you, as heavy and uncertain as the darkness around you. You can feel the weight of it pressing on your chest, an unsettling truth that neither of you can ignore. Home. The word feels strange now, like a distant memory from another life. You once thought it was a place you could return to, a sanctuary where you could leave the horrors of war behind. But now, after everything you've seen, everything you've lost, it seems like a fragile illusion, a dream that's slowly slipping through your fingers. You let out a breath, a slow exhale that carries the unease you've been holding in. I used to think so, you reply, your voice rough from the dryness of the air. I thought about it all the time, but now I don't know anymore. It's hard to picture it. It feels like we're stuck here, like the world's moved on without us. Davis doesn't respond at first. He just turns his head to look at you, his eyes tired but knowing. Yeah, he says after a long pause. It feels like we're not part of that world anymore. Like we've crossed some line, and there's no going back. You both fall silent again, the only sounds now, the crackling of the fire and the distant murmurs of the other soldiers trying to sleep. The thought of never returning to the world you knew is a hard pill to swallow, but it's a reality you can't escape. In the quiet of the night, with only the stars as your witness, you both understand the truth that lingers in the air. War changes everything. It strips away the innocence, the hope, and leaves behind a hardened version of yourself that you don't always recognize. As you lay back on your blanket, the cool night air brushing against your skin, you allow yourself to feel the weight of that truth. There's no escaping it. The war has taken so much from you already, and it feels like it will continue to do so until there's nothing left. But in the midst of it all, in the silence of the night, you find something else, something you've been holding on to without realizing it. The bond with your comrades. Davis, the others, all of you are in this together. You may not know what tomorrow will bring, or whether you'll make it out alive, but for now, you have each other. That's the one thing that hasn't been taken from you. You close your eyes, feeling the weight of exhaustion finally pulling you under. The fire's warmth fades, and the sounds of the camp grow quieter. Slowly, you drift into a restless sleep, your dreams filled with the faces of the men you've fought beside, the faces of the ones you've lost, and the quiet hope that somehow, someday, this will all end and you will find your way back home. But for now, all you can do is sleep and wait for another day of battle to begin. The morning light breaks through the thick canopy of trees, casting a soft glow over the camp. You wake with a start, the remnants of uneasy dreams still lingering in your mind. The air is cool and crisp, the faintest trace of mist hanging over the ground as the first rays of sunlight touch the earth. The quiet of the early morning is broken only by the sound of birds calling in the distance, their songs a stark contrast to the harsh noises of the battlefield. For a fleeting moment you almost forget where you are. The world seems peaceful, as if untouched by the violence and chaos that has defined your life for so long. You sit up slowly, rubbing your eyes, feeling the weight of exhaustion in your muscles. The weariness of the past few days settles deep in your bones, but it's not the physical fatigue that weighs most heavily on your mind. It's the quiet anxiety of knowing that the war is far from over, that the next battle could be just around the corner, and that survival has become nothing more than a day-to-day struggle. The thought of another day in this relentless cycle fills you with a quiet dread, but you push it aside. There is no room for fear. Not now. Davis stirs beside you, his face scrunched in discomfort as he wakes from his own restless sleep. The camp is beginning to come alive, soldiers packing up their things, checking their rifles, and preparing for another day of marching or waiting. The familiar motions of routine are almost comforting in their predictability. You can almost forget for a moment that you are in the midst of a war, that at any given time the peace of the morning can be shattered by the screams of battle. Davis sits up, stretching his arms above his head with a grunt. "Another day, huh?" he mutters, his voice hoarse from the dryness of sleep. There's no enthusiasm in his words, just the tired acceptance of the life you're all living now. You nod in agreement, but you don't respond. There's nothing left to say. Each day is the same, each one a blur of exhaustion and survival. There is no end in sight, no escape from the endless fight. As you stand and stretch, you feel the weight of your rifle hanging at your side. It's a constant companion, a reminder of the life you've chosen, or rather, the life that's been forced upon you. You don't remember when it became a part of you, when you stopped thinking about the weapon as something foreign and started seeing it as an extension of yourself. The rifle feels natural now, like an old friend, but there's no comfort in that. It's just another thing to carry, another burden to bear. The camp begins to stir with more energy as the soldiers prepare for whatever the day will bring. Some are sharpening their weapons, others are tending to their gear. The hum of the camp fills the air, and in this moment, you almost feel like a part of it. There's a strange sense of camaraderie in the shared misery of it all. Everyone here knows the same fear, the same exhaustion, the same longing for an end to this war. It's a bond formed not by friendship, but by necessity, and in that bond there is a quiet understanding. You glance around at the faces of the men around you, the soldiers who have become your family in this strange, fractured world. Each one of them has a story, a life they left behind, a reason for being here. But now, in the midst of the war, those stories have become distant memories. What matters now is the present, the fight, the survival, the next step. No one talks much about home anymore. It feels too far away, too unreachable. All you can do is keep moving, keep going, because that's the only way to survive. The sound of a whistle cuts through the camp, and everyone begins to assemble. The orders for the day have come, and the soldiers fall into line, each one knowing their role, each one knowing what's expected. You fall in step with the others, your feet moving automatically as you make your way toward the formation. There's no thinking, no planning. It's all muscle memory now. As you stand in line with your comrades, you feel a brief flicker of something you haven't felt in days. Hope. It's fleeting, almost imperceptible, but it's there. For a moment you think that maybe, just maybe, today will be different. Maybe the battle will end, maybe there will be peace, maybe you'll find a way home. But, as the orders are shouted, as the soldiers march off to their positions, you know that hope, like everything else in this war, is fragile. It's a luxury that can't be afforded for long. The fight continues, and all you can do is move forward, step by step, hoping that someday, somehow, the war will end and you'll be free. For now, all that remains is the march, forward into the unknown, into whatever comes next. And though the weight of the rifle still feels heavy in your hands, there is a strange, stubborn resolve within you. You're still here, still standing, still breathing, and as long as you are, you will keep moving, one step at a time. The day stretches on in its usual rhythm. The march, the tension, the waiting. The heat of the afternoon sun beats down relentlessly, turning the ground beneath your boots into a furnace. Sweat trickles down your neck, mixing with the dust and grime that have become a permanent part of your skin. Your muscles ache with the constant movement, but it's a dull, familiar ache, one that has settled into your body over the past months. It's become a part of you now, like the rifle you carry, like the soldiers who march beside you. Pain has become a constant companion, and in a strange way, it's something you've come to accept. The men around you move in a mechanical fashion, their eyes vacant but determined, their faces a mixture of exhaustion and resolve. No one speaks much. There's no need for words anymore. The rhythm of the march says it all, step after step, foot after foot, moving forward no matter what. There's no place for hesitation, no space for doubt. You've learned to shut off the parts of yourself that long for something more, something beyond this endless stretch of earth and war. Your thoughts drift, but they are always pulled back to the same place, the same questions you've asked yourself countless times before. What am I fighting for? Why am I here? The answer is elusive, slipping through your fingers like sand. You thought you were fighting for freedom, for the country, for your family back home. But now those reasons feel distant, abstract. They're no longer the driving force behind your actions. Now it's about survival. It's about getting through another day, another battle, another march. That's the reality now. The simple, brutal truth. There's no room for heroism or lofty ideals. There's only survival and the need to keep going. Ahead of you, the line of soldiers stretches out, a sea of tired, dusty figures moving with mechanical precision. But among them, you spot a face you've seen before, one that you've come to know well over the past months. Davis. He's a few paces ahead, his shoulders slumped, his eyes focused on the ground. His face is drawn, the lines of weariness deepening with each passing day. You catch his eye for a brief moment, and though no words are exchanged, you both share a silent understanding. You know exactly what he's feeling, and he knows the same about you. You've come to rely on these brief moments of connection, the silent exchanges, the understanding looks, the shared weight of survival. In the midst of all the chaos, these small gestures are the only things that anchor you to the human side of this war. They remind you that you're not alone in this, that even in the darkest moments, there are others who are struggling right alongside you. As the day drags on, the landscape around you becomes more desolate. The trees thin out, the once lush green of the fields giving way to dry, cracked earth. The air grows hotter and the dust becomes thick, clogging your throat and making it harder to breathe. The sun beats down mercilessly, its rays relentless, as if it too is part of the war. You wipe your forehead with the back of your hand, but it only brings a momentary relief before the sweat returns, mixing with the dirt and grime that cover you like a second skin. The march slows, and you can hear the sound of commands being passed down the line. The tension in the air is palpable, as if something is about to break, something is about to happen. Your heart rate picks up, instinctively preparing for whatever comes next. You're not sure if it's another skirmish, or if this will be the beginning of something larger, something that will turn the tide of the war. But what you do know is this: the waiting is always the worst part. The anticipation gnaws at you, making the minutes feel like hours. Finally, the line halts, the soldiers around you tense, their eyes scanning the horizon. The once steady rhythm of the march is replaced by the unsettling stillness of waiting, and your breath catches in your chest. You feel it in your bones, the fear, the uncertainty, the knowledge that whatever happens next, it will be out of your control. Davis turns to you, his expression hardening with determination. His eyes flicker with the same question that haunts you. Will we make it through this? You don't answer, but your gaze meets his, and for a brief moment, you both know that whatever comes, you will face it together. There's nothing else to hold on to, nothing else to rely on but each other. And that, in itself, feels like enough. In that stillness, as the tension builds around you, you let yourself take one more steadying breath. The world is about to move again, but for this fleeting moment, you hold on to the calm, knowing that whatever happens next, you will survive it. Just like the days before, just like the nights that stretch into eternity, you will keep going, one step at a time. The silence breaks suddenly, the stillness shattered by the sharp crack of distant gunfire. Your heart skips a beat, the sound snapping you out of the haze of exhaustion you've been drifting in. You stand up straight, every muscle in your body tensing, the weight of your rifle suddenly heavy in your hands. The air feels thicker now, heavier with anticipation, and the tension among the soldiers is palpable. No one speaks, but everyone knows what's coming. The familiar rhythm of war has begun again, relentless, unforgiving, and unyielding. Ahead you see the first signs of movement, shadows darting across the horizon, figures emerging from the smoke. The enemy is advancing. The battle has begun. A sense of urgency spreads through the line, and soldiers shift into their battle formations. The calm, mechanical precision of the march is replaced by the frantic energy of war. You quickly check your gear, making sure everything is in place, rifle loaded, ammunition ready. Your hands, though accustomed to this task, still shake slightly, the old fear creeping back in. You can't help it. It's the way the world seems to shift when the first shots are fired, when the air is charged with danger. You take a deep breath, steadying yourself, and look around at the men beside you. Their faces are hard, focused, the same mix of fear and resolve in their eyes. You see the same exhaustion in their movements, the same weariness that has become a part of you. But there's something else there too, a kind of silent determination, a shared understanding that you're all in this together, that your survival depends on each other. You might not be fighting for a cause anymore, but you're fighting for the man next to you, and that's all that matters. As the first wave of enemy soldiers comes into view, you feel a surge of adrenaline. The noise of battle grows louder, the air thick with smoke and the scent of gunpowder. The battlefield becomes a blur of movement, of gunfire and shouts, as soldiers on both sides clash in a cacophony of violence. You fire your rifle, the sound of the shot sharp and immediate, and watch as another enemy falls. But there's no time to think about that. No time to feel anything about the man you've just killed. There's only the next shot, the next step, the next movement. You have to keep moving. You have to keep fighting. The ground beneath your feet shakes with the force of explosions, the earth reverberating as if it too is feeling the weight of the war. You move forward, your legs stiff with fatigue, but there's no time to stop. You push through the pain, through the exhaustion, driven by the instinct to survive. The battlefield has become a chaotic blur of sounds and colors, a whirlwind of violence that seems to stretch on forever. But through it all, you remain focused, your eyes locked on the task at hand. A scream cuts through the noise, and you turn to see a comrade go down, falling to the ground in a lifeless heap. The sight is a harsh reminder of the fragility of life, of how quickly everything can be taken away. You want to rush to his side to help him, but you know that there's nothing you can do. The war doesn't stop for you to mourn your fallen comrades. You push forward, your heart heavy, your mind numb to the pain of loss. The battle rages for what feels like hours, but in reality, it's only a matter of minutes. Time warps on the battlefield, seconds stretch into eternity, and yet, before you know it, it's over. The enemy retreats, their line broken, and the sounds of gunfire begin to fade. The world grows still again, as if the battle has never happened, as if the earth itself is trying to erase the violence that has just unfolded. You stand amidst the smoke and debris, your heart pounding in your chest, your body still vibrating with the aftermath of the fight. You feel a strange emptiness wash over you, the adrenaline ebbing away and leaving behind a heavy, hollow feeling. You've survived, but the victory feels hollow. There's no triumph in it, no joy. There's only the quiet reality of what you've just experienced. You look around at the fallen, at the men who are lying on the ground, both enemy and friend. The ground is soaked with blood, and the air still smells of gunpowder. The battlefield is littered with the remnants of another brutal fight, and all that remains is the aftermath. You glance at Davis, who is standing nearby, his face pale, his eyes wide, with the shock of what just happened. He doesn't say anything, but you know what he's thinking, what you're both thinking. This isn't the first battle you've fought, and it certainly won't be the last. It's just another day in a war that doesn't seem to end. But, for now, in the silence that follows the chaos, there's a moment of stillness, a brief respite. You're alive, you've survived another, and as the soldiers begin to regroup, as the camp starts to settle down, you realize that this is your life now. This cycle of battle, survival, and fleeting moments of peace. The war may end one day, but until then, all you can do is keep fighting, keep moving forward, one step at a time. The noise of battle fades into the background, but the weight of it lingers, a constant reminder of the world you've been thrust into, and the life you've chosen to live. The quiet after the battle is deafening. The deafening silence that follows the chaos feels almost worse than the fight itself. The smoke still hangs heavy in the air, its acrid scent mixing with the earthy smell of the blood-soaked ground. Your body aches from the relentless tension, the fight, the fear, and the exhaustion. Every breath feels like it's too much, too thick, yet too shallow. You find yourself standing still in the midst of the wreckage, not sure how to move, not sure what to do next. You look around, seeing the faces of your comrades, each marked by the battle in their own way, some with a blank, far-off stare, others with eyes wide open, searching for meaning in the chaos. The faces are no longer familiar. These men, these soldiers, are not just faces you see in the mess hall anymore. They are shadows, survivors, and victims. In the brief moments between explosions and gunfire, they were comrades, part of something shared. But now, it feels like each of you is drifting in your own little world, separated by the experience of war that only those who fought can truly understand. The thought crosses your mind like a fleeting, dissonant chord. How many of us will make it out of this? The men around you seem so fragile now, so human. You can see it in their eyes, the way they look at the bodies scattered across the battlefield, the way they turn away from the men who've fallen beside them. It's not that they don't care, it's that they can't afford to care. Caring is a luxury that will get you killed here. The only way to survive this war is to hold a piece of yourself back, to distance your soul from the carnage around you. You take a slow, steadying breath, your eyes scanning the wreckage around you. The battlefield is littered with things that were once men, those who are no longer part of this world, and those whose futures have been changed forever. The bodies lie in grotesque positions, as if they'd fallen in the middle of their lives, unfinished, lost in the same instant. Some faces are frozen in expressions of surprise, others of fear, but all of them are the same now, gone. You turn your gaze away from them, not out of disrespect, but because you know you can't keep looking. If you do, if you stop and think about it for too long, you might lose yourself too. Your eyes meet Davis's, standing a few feet away, his face drawn tight with the kind of quiet grief that only war can create. The exhaustion is evident in his posture, his shoulders hunched as if carrying an invisible weight. He's trying to avoid looking at the dead, just like you, but the weight of what you've just done hangs in the air between you. There's a bond between you now, unspoken but undeniable. You've both walked through this hell together, side by side, and each of you is carrying the other's pain. Another day, another battle, Davis mutters, his voice heavy, distant. He doesn't expect an answer, and you don't give one. There's no need for words anymore. The weight of the fight is understood between you. But the truth is, you're not sure how much more you can take. Your body is numb, but your mind is still racing, still grasping for something to hold on to. The moments of peace, like the brief respite after a battle, when the world feels almost still, are fleeting. You've learned to find solace in the silence, in the few moments when everything stops, but even that feels wrong. It's as if the calm is a lie, a mask for the brutality that is always lurking just beneath the surface. War doesn't stop, it merely pauses for a moment, and then it starts again. As you look around at the men who remain, you feel an unsettling sense of distance. They are your brothers in arms, your companions in this hell, but there's a gap between you now. You can feel it, the horror of what you've witnessed, what you've done. It's too much to share. You don't talk about it. You don't ask each other how you're feeling, because you know, deep down, that there are no words for it. There is nothing left to say. The men start to gather, moving slowly, almost mechanically, as if the battle, the blood, the death, had drained them of more than just their energy. They've lost something deeper, something more profound, and the world now seems like a place they can no longer fully inhabit. Yet, in the midst of it all, there's a strange sense of purpose. It's not the noble cause that brought you here, not the ideals you once clung to, but the simple need to move forward. You have no choice. You keep moving. That's the only way to survive. The sun begins to set, casting long, slanted shadows across the battlefield. The light is soft, almost peaceful, a sharp contrast to the scene below. But as the day fades, you feel a faint flicker of something in your chest. It's not hope exactly, but it's a reminder that tomorrow will come. Tomorrow there will be another battle, another fight for survival. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be ready for it. With a final glance at the remnants of the battlefield, you turn away. The night is closing in, and tomorrow is already waiting, just out of reach, ready to pull you back into its endless chaos. But tonight, for this brief moment, you allow yourself to step away from it all. Tomorrow will bring what it brings, but for now, you are here, and you are alive. And for tonight, that has to be enough. The air grows cooler as the night deepens, and the first faint stars begin to appear in the sky. The day's battle feels like it happened in another lifetime, and yet the remnants of it still linger. The gunpowder in the air, the memories of the fallen and the faint echo of the screams that won't quite leave your mind. You sit down on the ground, your back against a tree, and let out a deep, exhausted sigh. The exhaustion in your bones is overwhelming, and the weight of your rifle feels like a burden too heavy to carry any longer. But you don't move. You can't. You glance around the camp, watching the other soldiers settle down for the night. There is no victory here, no joy in surviving another day. Everyone looks the same, tired, weary, haunted. The faces of your comrades, once filled with youthful hope and ambition, now carry the marks of battle. Eyes hollowed by loss, shoulders slumped under the weight of their experiences. Some of them whisper in hushed tones, their voices barely audible, but there is no real conversation. No one has the energy for small talk anymore. All that remains is the quiet, the heavy silence of a group of men who have all seen too much, too soon. Davis sits beside you, his body a mere shadow in the dim light. He's staring into the fire, his eyes distant, lost in thoughts that you know too well. For a moment neither of you speaks. There is nothing to say. The words are useless. There's nothing left to explain. The horrors of the battlefield have already been etched into your minds, and no amount of talking will change that. The silence between you is familiar now, a bond forged in the crucible of war. It's not uncomfortable, it's just the way things are, the way they have to be. As the fire crackles in front of you, the heat briefly warming your face, you think back to the start of all this. The naive optimism, the sense of duty, the belief that you were fighting for something greater than yourselves. At some point that belief began to fade, replaced by a dull, tired acceptance of the war's relentless march. You wonder if you will ever feel that sense of purpose again, or if it's been forever lost, buried beneath the weight of all that has happened. In the quiet, your mind begins to drift again, this time towards home. The thought of home is almost painful now, a distant dream that feels both too close and too far away. You can almost see it in your mind's eye, the familiar fields, the quiet nights by the fire, the soft sound of your mother's voice calling you to dinner. But the more you think about it, the more it feels like a world that doesn't exist anymore. How could it? You've been changed, and so is the world you left behind. You can't go back to the way things were, no matter how much you wish it. Davis's voice breaks through your thoughts, soft but steady. Do you think we'll ever make it home? He asks. It's a simple question, one that has been on both your minds for what feels like forever, but the answer remains elusive. You've been fighting this war for so long, and it feels as though you've left home behind in more ways than one. You shake your head slowly, unsure of how to respond. I don't know, you finally say, your voice quieter than usual. It's hard to picture it now, hard to believe there's anything left for us there. Davis nods, his eyes still fixed on the fire, but there's something in his gaze now, something resigned. Yeah, he murmurs almost to himself. Feels like the whole world's changed, like we don't even belong there anymore. For a long moment neither of you speaks. The fire crackles softly, its warm light flickering across your faces, but it doesn't bring comfort. Instead, it feels like a reminder of everything you've lost. The warmth, the safety, the simplicity of a life that now seems impossible. It's hard to reconcile the man you were before the war with the soldier you are now. The distance between those two versions of yourself is too great, and the gap seems to widen with each passing day. Eventually, Davis shifts, pulling his blanket tighter around himself, preparing for sleep. He doesn't say anything else, and you don't either. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters except getting through another night, another day. It's a strange sort of survival, this existence, where you don't think about the future, don't think about what you've lost. You simply endure, one step at a time, until the war ends, if it ever does. As you lie down on your own blanket, staring up at the stars above, you feel a strange mix of weariness and calm. The battle is over for now, and tomorrow will bring its own challenges, its own fights. But, for tonight, there is only the silence, the space between the wars, the brief, fragile pause before the next storm. You close your eyes, willing yourself to rest, though sleep is a long time coming. And as the darkness of the night wraps around you, You know that whatever comes next, you will face it like all the others, one day at a time, one step at a time. The morning comes too soon, the sharp light of the sun piercing through the thin veil of sleep you manage to find during the night. It feels as though you've barely closed your eyes when the sounds of movement begin to fill the camp. The soldiers begin to stir, their groans and sighs mixing with the rustling of blankets and the creaking of stiff joints. You sit up slowly, the weight of your body pressing against the cold ground, a familiar ache that never quite fades. The camp is already beginning to take shape, the usual routine unfolding around you. Some men are gathering their belongings, others are cleaning their rifles, and a few are already taking their morning rations, chewing mechanically on stale bread and dried meat. The simple act of eating feels almost surreal now. There was a time when meals were something to be enjoyed, but here, food has become nothing more than fuel, a necessary task to keep moving, to keep fighting. Davis stands a few feet away, his back turned to you as he leans against a tree, adjusting his gear. You watch him for a moment, his silhouette framed by the soft morning light, and for a brief second, it's as though the world has slowed down. He looks so much like the person you once knew, the man full of laughter and youthful energy, the man who would joke and talk about what he would do when this war was over. But now those conversations feel like distant memories, fragile and faded. It's not that Davis has changed, not exactly. It's more that this war has peeled away so much of what was once there. The lightness is gone, replaced by the weight of survival. You can see it in his posture, the way he stands, the way his eyes scan the horizon even in moments of rest. He's always alert, always waiting for the next thing. You sigh and pull yourself to your feet, feeling the familiar groan of your joints, the stiffness that comes from lying on the cold ground, night after night. There's a moment of stillness as you look around the camp, taking in the faces of your comrades. They all look the same, tired, worn down, but still here. There's a certain beauty in their resilience, in their ability to continue despite everything that's been taken from them. You realize, not for the first time, that the war has changed you all. It's made you into something else, something unrecognizable, yet undeniably human. The orders come as they always do, and the soldiers begin to gather, forming lines, checking their gear one last time. You move into formation without thinking, your steps automatic, your body falling into the rhythm of the march. There's no rush to move quickly, no sense of urgency, but there is an unspoken understanding that you need to be ready for whatever comes next. You've learned not to question the orders, not to wonder why, not to look for meaning in it all. The only thing that matters is following the commands, staying alive and moving forward. You walk alongside Davis, the two of you silent but aware of each other's presence. There's no need for words. The silence is comfortable now, a space between you that holds the weight of all the unspoken things. You're not sure where the path leads, but for now, you're walking it together. It's strange, but it feels right. In a world that has become so uncertain, so fragmented, the presence of another person, the shared experience of survival, is something you've come to rely on. In the midst of the war's chaos, this quiet camaraderie is the one thing you can count on. As you walk, the landscape begins to shift around you. The forest thins out, giving way to a more open terrain, the tall grass waving in the breeze, the faint sound of distant artillery in the background. The world seems to stretch out endlessly, and for a moment it feels as though you're walking into the unknown, as though the future is a vast, uncharted expanse. The sun climbs higher, casting long shadows across the ground, and the heat begins to settle in. The weight of your pack feels heavier now, and you can feel the familiar burn in your shoulders and lower back as the march continues. But you push forward, step by step, the rhythm of the march easing the tension in your mind. The physical discomfort of the march is almost a relief compared to the mental strain, the constant barrage of thoughts and worries that accompany every battle. Here, in the quiet of the march, you can focus on nothing but the next step. The world is reduced to a single, constant motion. As the day wears on, the quiet of the march is interrupted only by the occasional command, the shuffle of boots on the earth, and the distant sounds of the rest of the army moving in the same direction. It's a strange, almost meditative experience, this endless movement forward, this constant pursuit of something that feels as if it's just beyond your reach. The end of the war, the return to home, the promise of peace, it all feels like a distant dream, something you can almost touch but can never quite grasp. And so, you continue to march alongside your comrades, alongside Davis, each of you lost in your own thoughts, but bound together by the simple, undeniable fact of survival. There is no promise of victory, no guarantee of peace, only the certainty that the war will keep pushing you forward, step by step, until it eventually reaches its end. And when it does, if it ever does, you wonder what will be left. Will you be the same person? Will any of you? For now, all that matters is this: the next step, the next march, the next breath. The war has taken so much, but it hasn't taken your will to keep going, and for that, you are grateful. The sun climbs higher in the sky, its heat becoming more oppressive with each passing hour. The march continues, endless and unrelenting. Your legs burn with fatigue, your feet dragging along the dirt path, but you force yourself to keep moving. The men around you are no better off, their faces drawn with exhaustion, their bodies weighed down by the heavy packs they carry. Despite the relentless pace, there's a strange kind of rhythm to the march, a steady mechanical motion that feels almost meditative after the chaos of the battle. The landscape around you changes again, the open terrain giving way to a dense, dark forest. The trees stretch up high, their thick canopies casting deep shadows on the ground below. The air is cooler now, but it carries a dampness, the smell of wet earth and decaying leaves filling your nostrils. The quiet of the forest feels strange, almost unnatural after the din of battle. It's the kind of silence that presses in on you, heavy and oppressive, as though the trees themselves are watching, waiting. The soldiers fall into a loose formation as they move through the trees, their footsteps muffled by the thick carpet of fallen leaves. The occasional rustle of branches in the wind is the only sound that breaks the stillness. Your thoughts wander again, your mind seeking an escape from the physical toll of the march. You think of home, of the quiet days before the war, of the soft rustle of the leaves in the trees, the warmth of the sun on your face, the smell of your mother's cooking drifting through the house. But those thoughts, those memories, seem distant now, like a dream you once had but have forgotten. You glance at Davis, walking beside you, his face set in a grim expression. He looks just as worn as you feel, but there's a quiet determination in his eyes that matches your own. It's the look of someone who has accepted the reality of the war, who no longer wonders when it will end, but simply endures because that's all that's left to do. He meets your gaze briefly, and without a word, you both understand. There's nothing more to say. As the march continues, the forest begins to feel like a living entity, its shadows growing darker and more oppressive with each step. The sounds of the birds and insects, which had once been soothing, now seem distant and muted. The air grows thick, almost suffocating, and you feel the weight of the forest pressing down on you. Every step feels heavier than the last, every breath more labored. You can't tell if it's the march that's wearing you down or the weight of the war itself. Maybe it's both. You catch a glimpse of the soldiers ahead, moving silently through the trees, their faces marked by the same exhaustion, the same quiet acceptance. The war has become a constant presence in their lives, just as it has in yours. It's not just the battles, the bloodshed, the constant fight for survival. It's the mental toll of living in a world where the future is always uncertain, where every day feels like it could be your last. It's the slow erosion of hope, the gradual fading of the person you once were, replaced by someone who is simply trying to endure. There's no way to explain it, no way to articulate the heavy burden that sits on your chest. It's not just the physical fatigue, though that is a part of it. It's the mental exhaustion, the constant weight of fear, of knowing that at any moment everything you fought for could be taken away. It's the understanding that even if you survive the war, you'll never be the same. The person who left home, the one with dreams, with hopes, with plans for the future, has been buried under the weight of battle, under the weight of survival. You wonder briefly if anyone else feels it too. The sense of something slipping away, something irretrievable. You glance at Davis again, his face expressionless but his eyes tired, haunted by the same thoughts. He's carrying the same burden you are, and for a moment you both share a silent understanding. You don't need to talk about it. The war has taken something from both of you, something you can never get back, but you keep going. That's all you can do. The march continues, the trees thinning as the forest gives way to more open land. The sun is now high in the sky, the heat almost unbearable. You wipe the sweat from your brow, feeling the dampness of your clothes clinging to your skin. The men around you move with a slow, weary determination, each step more reluctant than the last. But still, you all keep going, because that's what soldiers do. You survive. You endure. As you walk, you notice the faintest hint of something on the horizon. It's hard to make out at first, a small speck on the edge of the horizon. But as you get closer, you see it clearly. A camp, a place to rest, a place to sleep, to eat, to prepare for whatever comes next. The thought of it is almost too much to bear. The simple idea of stopping, of putting down your rifle and resting your aching body. But it's not a luxury. It's a necessity. And as you move toward it, you feel a small flicker of something you haven't felt in days. Relief. Maybe this will be the place where you can forget, if only for a while. Maybe this will be the place where you can close your eyes and let the war fade into the background, just for a few hours. You don't know how long you'll stay, or how long the war will last. But for now, this camp is everything. It's a momentary escape from the relentless forward march of battle. A small slice of peace in a world that seems to have forgotten what peace feels like. And as you step into the camp, you realize that, for the first time in a long while, you're not thinking about the next battle. You're not thinking about survival or loss or death. For a moment, you let yourself rest. You let yourself breathe. And in that breath, you feel something you haven't felt in ages. A brief, fleeting sense of being human again. As the days pass, the landscape of war continues to unfold around you. A constant, unforgiving backdrop to the unceasing march of soldiers. But something in the air begins to change as you and your comrades move through the thick, rolling hills. The tension that's been so heavy in your chest for what feels like an eternity begins to ease, if only slightly. It's subtle, almost imperceptible, a shift that happens when you least expect it. The days seem to blend together, but now, in the quiet of the woods, there's a trace of calm. A stillness that wasn't there before. The forest feels different, as if the trees themselves are offering shelter, some kind of protection from the war outside. You've walked through these woods before, many times, always with your senses heightened, always alert for movement, for danger. But today, the familiar trees feel comforting. The whispering of the wind through the leaves a soft lullaby that calls to something deep inside you. The sound of birds flitting through the branches above fills the air. Their calls a stark contrast to the violence of battle. The faint scent of damp moss and pine needles floats in the breeze, and the cool, shaded paths give you a sense of temporary relief from the harsh sun. For a brief moment, the war feels far away, as though the earth beneath your feet has somehow shielded you from its brutality. You glance to your right, where Davis is walking beside you. His face is worn as always, the lines of fatigue carved deep into his features. Yet there's a quiet peace in his expression today, something almost serene that you haven't seen in weeks. It's strange seeing him this way. The last few months have hardened both of you. War has a way of doing that. It chips away at the softness, the parts of you that were once untouched by violence. But as you both walk in silence through the trees, you realize that this small, tranquil moment has allowed something inside you to loosen, if only for a moment. You're not sure what it is. Relief? Maybe. Or just the absence of the constant tension. But you feel something like peace in this place, a fleeting sensation that it's all right to stop moving for just a little while. To breathe. You look at Davis again, this time noticing the way his shoulders have relaxed slightly. Maybe he too feels the shift, the way the weight of the world seems a little lighter in this moment. Maybe it's the simple comfort of knowing that for now, you're not fighting. You're not running. You're just walking. The path ahead seems endless, the trees stretching out like a canopy above you, creating a world of green that feels both eternal and impermanent. You walk side by side, your boots soft against the earth. The quiet sound of your footsteps, the only sound that fills the space between you. It's strange how, even in the midst of war, you can find moments like this. The small, insignificant moments that seem to stand still, like brief respites from the relentless battle. They're fleeting, but they're there. And for the first time in a long time, you allow yourself to be fully present in this moment. You don't think about the next fight. You don't think about the future. You just walk and let the world spin around you just for a while. Ahead, the rest of the men are continuing the march, their faces set with determination, their steps moving in unison. You glance at them, each of them burdened by their own invisible weight, the weight of loss, of fear, of everything they've left behind. You wonder if they too are feeling this strange, quiet moment, or if they are still caught up in the endless cycle of survival. You wonder if anyone else ever feels like you do now, if they too can catch their breath, even if only for a few fleeting seconds. But the moment passes quickly. The stillness is broken by the sound of distant artillery, the faint rumble of battle on the horizon. It's the reminder that war never stops. The peace, the calm, are only temporary illusions. The world beyond the forest is still out there, waiting for you to return to it. You feel the shift in the air, the sudden change in energy as the soldiers around you begin to tense once more. The brief respite has ended, and the fight will continue. There is no escape from it. You take a deep breath, trying to ground yourself in the stillness for just a moment longer. But you know that the march will go on, that the war will drag you back in. For now, though, you hold on to this fleeting peace, this small fragment of time when the world seemed to pause. It won't last, but for now, it's enough. With a final glance at Davis, you both continue down the path, side by side, walking through the trees, heading toward whatever lies ahead. You don't know what tomorrow will bring, but in this moment, you know you'll keep walking, because that's all you can do, one step at a time. The sun begins to dip lower in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the landscape. The forest ahead seems to soften under the fading light, the shadows lengthening, stretching across the path as if time itself is slowing down. The familiar hum of the soldiers' march continues, but now it feels quieter somehow, less urgent. The sound of your boots on the earth, the rhythmic thud against the ground, becomes a comfort, a steady beat that seems to carry you forward, step after step. The weight of the rifle against your shoulder is still there, still present, but it doesn't feel as heavy as it once did. It has become just another part of you, like the dust clinging to your uniform or the ache in your muscles. The war may be relentless, but in this moment there is a sense of peace, however fleeting. The world around you feels vast, full of possibilities that you haven't allowed yourself to think about in a long time. You feel the cool evening air against your skin, the slight breeze that rustles the leaves overhead, and for a moment everything slows down. There is no gunfire, no chaos, no fear of what tomorrow might bring. There is only this stillness, this quiet walk, this brief moment of respite from everything you've endured. You glance over at Davis, walking beside you. He too seems changed in this moment. The weight of the war still clings to him, but there's a subtle shift in his expression, a softness, a quiet relief in his eyes that mirrors your own. Perhaps it's the simple relief of knowing you've made it this far, of knowing that, for now, you are still alive. There are no promises in this life, no guarantees, but right now, you are here, and that is enough. The camp you've been heading toward finally comes into view, the small tents and makeshift shelters nestled against the edge of the trees. The smoke rising from the campfire adds a sense of familiarity to the scene, a reminder of the many nights spent under the same sky, in the same exhaustion, the same silent understanding that this is all you have. The war may stretch on forever, but in this small, quiet corner of the world, you've found a place where the noise of the battlefield doesn't reach. The sounds of the soldiers settling into the camp fill the air. Soft conversations, the clinking of tin cups, the shuffle of tired feet against the ground. You stand there for a moment, taking it all in. You're here. You've made it through another day, another battle, another march, It feels like such a small thing, such a simple thing, but it's everything. The warmth of the campfire, the quiet murmur of men still awake, the distant stars twinkling above. You are here, and for now, that's all that matters. Davis drops his pack and moves toward the fire, his steps slow, deliberate. You follow, doing the same, the familiar weight of your gear settling into place as you prepare for the evening routine. The air smells of smoke, and the earth beneath your feet feels solid, grounded, unyielding. There is something reassuring in that, in a world where everything seems uncertain, where everything feels like it could be taken from you in an instant. There is something profoundly comforting in the earth beneath your feet, in the fire that flickers before you, in the men who have shared this journey with you. You sit beside Davis by the fire, the warmth of the flames a welcome relief against the cool night air. The crackling of the fire fills the silence between you, and for a moment there is nothing else. No battles, no war, no fear of what comes next. There is only the fire, the company of your comrades, and the sense of peace that fills you from the inside out. You look around at the men in the camp, their faces illuminated by the firelight, their expressions worn but resolute. You know that the war isn't over, that tomorrow will bring its own challenges, but for now, you are here, in this moment, with the men who have stood by your side. Davis leans back, his eyes gazing up at the stars, his hands folded in his lap. He speaks quietly, almost to himself. Maybe we're not so alone in all this after all. His voice is soft, but there's a quiet sincerity in it. It's a sentiment you share, one you didn't realize you were craving until now. The simple knowledge that you're not in this alone, that you've walked this path with others who understand the weight you carry. The fire crackles again, sending a brief shower of sparks into the night sky. The light dances across the soldiers' faces, casting fleeting shadows that seem to hold the quiet stories of the war, of the struggles, the losses, the small victories. You sit there for a long time, letting the stillness seep into you, letting the warmth of the fire and the quiet of the night fill the spaces in your heart that war has hollowed out. Eventually, the sounds of the camp begin to fade as the men settle down for the night. The fire burns low, its warmth fading, and the stars above grow brighter, shining down on a world that feels both far away and so close at the same time. You close your eyes, the exhaustion from the march finally catching up with you. Your body aches, your mind is heavy, but there's a quiet, simple satisfaction in knowing that for tonight you are safe. For tonight there is peace. Tomorrow the war will return. But for now, you let yourself rest. One more night, one more breath, one more moment of stillness before the march begins again.